were really accessible to me or things that I thought would really better me as a coach. And it just so happened like during this week where I was having this revelation that I saw you guys posted that you were hiring for this new coaching college position. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Like stars are aligning. Just on a whim, one day I sent in an application, which to apply for something like that on a whim is pretty wild, I will say. But yeah, in all honesty, I also didn't really expect anything to come from it as quickly as it did. It was kind of more like a step for me mentally, but also then Jill texted me like the next day because we had our contacts from TKI University, which was 4 or 5 years prior, but that just like is a testament to the people that you guys are and you stay in contact and all of that. But yeah, I just felt like I needed some extra support and this was something I wanted to pursue and it felt like the absolute perfect opportunity.
I actually didn't, like, we've talked about that you're at TKI University.
Welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and conditioning and goalkeeper coach here at the Keeper Institute and your host for today's show. The Keeper Institute is a unique goalkeeper training facility in New Jersey aimed at developing better goalkeepers and better people. On this podcast, we will be discussing all things goalkeeping, character development, and more.
Welcome back to another episode of the Keeper Institute podcast. All right, you guys, it's Coach Jill. I'm doing this one all alone. Tori has been sick, and so she doesn't have a voice, so I am going to try and do my best to do this podcast all alone by myself. My hope is that at the end of this podcast that you guys understand a little bit more about what your job as a goalkeeper is and hopefully gain some insight on what you need to do in order to be the best goalkeeper you can be in all those tasks, as well as give you some actionable items that you can work on in your off season to be able to develop those skills so that when the spring comes around, you feel more comfortable to be able to execute your job and whatever problem comes your way within your club setting. So without further ado, we're going to just get right into it. So there's 5 jobs of a goalkeeper, and the first one we're going to talk about is defending the goal. So what I'm going to do is go through all the tasks. What are some of the common mistakes that we see within those tasks, and then maybe some solutions to provide you some opportunity to think a little bit different about it or try and execute in training a little bit different. So the first one we're going to talk about is defend the goal. And typically the biggest errors, especially, even at the college and professional game, but especially at the younger age groups, this is something that I see on a regular basis. And even if you guys are NWSL fans, that you might have seen, Lorena conceded a goal like this last week in the playoffs against Gotham. So it still happens even to some of the best goalkeepers in the world. But some of the common errors that I see that are getting in the way of us being able to maximize our coverage of the goal is our positioning and our shape. So being set a little bit too close to the near post. So then that takes away some of our opportunity and range at the back post. Or if you set too close to the near post, you're almost making the decision for the attacker for them, and it's more intuitive and there's less hesitation and there's not so much time to deliberate what they're going to do because they see a clear opening and they're going to execute sharply in that moment. So just being set in the right position, it gives us not only the best opportunity to make the save and cover as much of the goal as possible, but it also puts some decision into the attacker's brain. And you guys know sometimes when you have decisions, it's a little bit harder to make that quick twitch fiber type of decision and execute it to the highest ability. So being set in the right position, that's going to help you guys a lot. And that's something that you can explore in your training settings, explore in your goalkeeper training environments, in your practice environments, and something that you can challenge yourself with of in these angled shot situations, where can I set and how much of my near post can I cover? Because that's one of the biggest myths that we hear is that you can't get scored on the near post. You absolutely can, and it still be a phenomenal shot in the top corner or bottom corner, and there wasn't much that you could do about it. Sometimes we overcompensate for that type of save, and we leave ourselves very vulnerable, susceptible to the balls back across the face. The second thing about defending the goal, the common error that I see is that goalkeepers don't get balanced. And so if you're not completely balanced at the time of the shot, you are putting yourself at a deficit because then you have to get set and then you have to move And typically from angled shots, we're seeing shots from a little bit closer range because their angles aren't as great. And so because it's close range, we have less time to be able to make up for any errors in our balance. So if we're still moving, and this is what happened to Lorena, is not only was she out of position, but she wasn't necessarily balanced at the time of the shot. And so if she was still moving to her near post, it makes it really difficult to then get set, get your feet back in the floor, move your lead leg across your frame, and then get a solid push. And so if the goalkeeper was set just a fraction earlier, I do think that she would have put herself in the best position to make that save, because her positioning would have been key, her balance would have been key, and she would have been able to utilize her push really well instead of being forced into sweeping that foot from out from underneath of her. So some solutions that you guys can use in this off season is making sure that your shot stopping exercises have moving balls. So it's not just a dead ball from one specific angle, but maybe it's off of a touch or a dribble. And now you're having to make small little adjustments as the attacker takes more and more touches or as they pass the ball. But we don't really get those types of opportunities hitting balls that are dead. The other thing is we want to make sure that the balls are being hit from the floor. I know goalkeepers utilize volleys a lot to catch volleys, to quote, warm up, but we really believe that if the ball was struck from the floor, that's going to provide you the best opportunity to get the pacing of the shot and the timing of the shot and give you an opportunity not only to warm up, but to get into a rhythm of when to set, how to set, when to make that decision based on the triggers and the cues that you're seeing in front of you. The other things that you guys can do is add some defenders or extra attackers to your training environment. So if it's just you and another goalkeeper and a coach, put that other goalkeeper as a defender in front of the coach so that that maybe your vision is occluded just a little bit and it's more difficult to see some of those triggers and it's more difficult to see the ball straight away out from underneath of behind the defender. So anytime you can add a little bit more into your line of vision, that's going to help you be able to decipher what those cues and what those triggers are. And if everything's moving at game speed, that's going to be the best opportunity for you guys to work on when to get set, how to get set, where to get set. Okay, so that's number one, defend the goal. Number two, defend the goal area. This is a big one that we see. And some of you guys know that I track every single goal that happens in the NWSL. I think there's like 300 to 400 goals from this season. And each year I've done it, I've found out that 30%, typically 30% of goals are scored from crossing scenarios. So whether that's in the wide channel on the flank or inside the penalty area, more of like a targeted pass, 30% of goals come from crossing scenarios. So in my head, okay, how can we narrow that down and make it smaller? How can we be better in that area? I think we can be more proactive about coming out to claim more things, whether that's punching, whether that's catching things and keeping possession, more preventative. And the way that we can be more preventative in protecting the goal area is to find the proper position. Because a lot of goalkeepers, and this is one of the common errors, is we see them get too close to their near post and they overcompensate. And that really does minimize your range to be able to protect the area and be as preventative as possible. So where can I position based on where the ball is, based on where the opponent is, where my defenders are, where their players are in front of my goal? Are they in the near post? Are they in the back post? What's their positioning look like? But I want to find my position with the aim to be able to impact multiple outcomes. So if the ball is served to the near post, can I come and affect it? If it's into the back post, can I affect it? Is there a ball that will provide me a smaller distance to be able to readjust and then therefore making my final action while protecting the goal even better? That's going to be the biggest key for you guys when defending the area. Is first and foremost is where can I position to impact multiple decisions that the attackers could make. The second thing is, if you want to be more preventative in the goal area, is to find the quickest line to the ball. So it's not about necessarily winning at the highest point. It's about winning the ball as early as possible. That means that if you win the ball as early as possible, the less amount of influence that the opponent can have on the ball. So the ball's flighted up, instead of waiting for it to get a little bit lower or waiting for it to come to you, if you can attack it, pause, judge, attack, that's going to help you win the ball as early as possible and then give the opponent less opportunities to intervene. The next thing that you guys can do is increase your ability to punch. Everybody knows we get told all the time to catch. But in crossing scenarios, when there's lots of traffic and there are a lot of bodies to be able to navigate, we sometimes want to increase our range with the safety net of, if I go for this ball and I can't catch, at least I can punch it away into a safe area of the pitch. Now, we think of punching as relatively easy. We're going up, we're punching the ball in the direction that our body is moving. So if I'm moving to the near post, punch it back to where it came from. If I'm moving it into the back post, keep the ball going where it's going. However, that seems really simple. It seems easy and the principles are easy, but it becomes a little bit more difficult when you only feel comfortable to punch with one hand. So being able to punch with two hands, being able to punch with your dominant and then your non-dominant, it's going to be really important in your shot prevention. And then the ways that you guys can work on this is moving balls in the flank, and you're getting services from different areas, different types of services. You're maybe given an outcome where if you win possession, you're quickly trying to counterattack from that situation, but also just having a really good insight and being reflective right now, a really good insight in terms of, is protecting the goal area one of my super strengths? Okay, if it is, then I can take more risks in that area to protect the goal area. But if not, I've got to get a lot better at protecting the goal in that transition moment of backwards movement to defend the goal. So just having a clear idea of who you are, what your identity is in that scenario is going to be really, really helpful. The next task of a goalkeeper after we have defend the goal area, is defend the space behind the back line. Now, the biggest common errors are that goalkeepers vertically are way too deep. They're not staying as connected to their back line, or they drop too quickly. So imagine the ball's outside shooting range, OSR. That's what we call it, outside shooting range. If the ball's outside shooting range, then that means we want to be in a position that we can impact anything that's behind the back line. And maybe that doesn't even mean the ball is played. We just want to be in a position where maybe we just impact what the attacker on the ball is doing. So let's say a midfielder on opposition picks up the ball, they get their head up and they see me off my line in a central position, and they know, okay, I can't play that ball because the goalkeeper is going to come and get it. So maybe they, one, don't play the ball, or two, maybe they play the ball in behind the back line, but they play it into the wide channels, which is not as threatening. So the ball is moving away from the goal, and now it's giving my central players time to get back behind the ball. So simply by staying in a vertical position that's connected to my back line, I could influence what the opponent is going to do and potentially stop them from being able to play into the most dangerous area of the pitch, which is behind the center backs. The second common error that I see is that goalkeepers don't have a variety of different tools to solve problems behind their back line. So the clear and obvious choice to defend the space behind the back line, especially when you're outside your box, is to clear the ball in one touch. Clear and obvious, right? But there are other ways that you can solve it as well, which might give you a wide range of tools to be able to solve different problems. So what if the ball was bouncing? Are you capable of a volley? Are you capable of a header? Are you capable of a touch off of your chest past pressure? Or if the ball, you make a decision that was maybe a little hasty and you get caught, do you have the ability to emergency slide tackle? Do you have the wherewithal to make a diving header, potentially even outside the box? And then you can always touch past pressure if pressure is coming on really heavily, and you can use that momentum of the attacker against them in some scenarios. And the ways that you guys can get better with this in your off season is, one, be really intentional about the different types of goalkeepers that you're watching on a weekly basis. So just two goalkeepers in each gender, Emmy Martinez, Allison Becker, some of the most preventative goalkeepers that you can see behind back lines. They take up a vertical positioning that's high. They have a wide range of tools that they can solve problems. And on the women's side, Ann Katrin for Gotham, as well as Mandy McGlynn for the Utah Royals, two goalkeepers that play very close to their back line, comfortable solving that space and being as preventative as possible. The second thing that you guys can do in this off season, and this one is maybe a little bit more difficult and maybe more long-term, but you can start to work on your bravery. You can start to work on your mentality and your relationship to mistakes, because this is one of the hardest parts about goalkeeping. It is really difficult to replicate this in training on a regular basis. It's really difficult to emulate, the opponent's speed. I mean, for anybody in the NWSL, no one's replicating Shawinga's speed. So it's really hard to have those scenarios emerge in training and those solutions emerge in training. So a lot of it is done within your training games or your games on a weekly basis. So your relationship to mistakes is going to have to be really good, because being brave and preventative outside your box is one of the most difficult parts of the position. It's one of the most high risk. It's the most, if you make a mistake here, everybody knows it's your fault. So you have to be comfortable to explore those solutions, and you have to be comfortable enough to deal with whatever the consequences are in those moments. And the way you can work on that is having a clear identity of who you are and who you want to be when things get tough. Because your ceiling, this is one of my favorite things that I've been meditating on recently, is your ceiling is only ever going to be as high as your mentality allows it. And I'm going to say that one more time. Your ceiling is only as high as your mentality allows it to be. Because if you believe that there's no more improvement on the table for you, you're kind of going to be stuck with who you are right now. But if you believe that you can improve in certain areas, whether it's the physical speed side or the recognition of the triggers and the cues or the decision-making side, you can improve in that if your mindset allows you to be. All right, we got two more. We're going to go with the easy one, the beach ball first, which is communication. And the common errors that we see in that are goalkeepers only talking when it's non-urgent. So when the ball is in the attacking third and they're telling the players on the ball what to do, when in fact you despise when your teammates tell you to come out and win possession of the ball. You do not like people telling you what to do in terms of when to come out and when to stay. So you telling your teammate to shoot is not really that helpful. You can communicate, though, some countermeasures. So if you have two full backs that want to get high up into the attack and the ball's in the attacking third, you can have a 6 drop in potentially, or you can have one of them rotate back and one get high. You want to organize your defense that if the opponent were to get a ball in transition, that your team would be safe and would be secure in those moments. So we can communicate certainly that when the ball's in the attacking third, but we want to be communicating when we have influence and when we have authority in the game. So when the ball is inside shooting range and someone has time and space, we step so-and-so, no shot. We're communicating what our needs are in that moment to make sure that we limit the opponent's opportunities to score. We also could be communicating when we're coming out for the ball, keeper or away. That's going to be really helpful because ultimately, as goalkeepers, we are the deciders. We are the ones who make the decision. Are you coming out or are you staying? And that decision impacts every other person on the field. So if I'm coming out to yell keeper and come out for the ball, my defender's job is to seal off the opponent and create a space for me to come and win the ball. If I say away, the defender's job is then to go and win the ball. So the defenders aren't sure what to do until you tell them what you're doing. And everything they do is based off of what you are doing. So we want to communicate really clearly and as early as possible in those moments to make sure that everybody has an idea and is on the same page. All right, you guys, the last one we're going to talk about today is supporting the attack. And I think that the most common errors that I see in supporting the attack are goalkeepers just kicking it long anytime they're under pressure. Now, is that what's demanded of them in some circumstances? I'm sure, yeah. You can't solve everything by taking a touch or moving or asking for the ball into space to solve it. Sometimes we just have to put a ball into a certain area of the field and say, there was such high pressure, I couldn't solve it any other way, but I'm going to intentionally put it into an area of the field where we have numbers advantage, we have a speed advantage, where we have a height advantage, some type of situation to relieve that pressure. So I think the other common error is that we get goalkeepers thinking that you always have to play, insert pass here. You always have to play short. You always have to play long. You always have to change the point of attack. You don't always have to do any of those things. And actually, your job is to try to find the highest value pass that's available to you. And what will dictate value is the context of the game. Is your team winning? Is your team losing? Does your team have a speedy player down the side who is an absolute X factor off the run and into space? Do you have a tight, technical, tidy player that you can play under whatever amounts of pressure, right? It's not just about playing. You always have to do this. You always have to change the point of attack. You always have to switch fields, or you always have to play short. No, it's about you scanning to find what is the best available option to me, and how can I exploit that opportunity with my delivery by giving my teammate or whoever I pass the ball to some type of advantage, right? So when I'm playing through to my 6, am I giving them a ball that they can play off on 1? Am I giving them a ball that they can take a touch with? Am I communicating what their next action is to set them up for success? We want to start thinking about starting the possession or aiding the possession in that way of what's the best pass available to me. And I know that because I've scanned, as the goalkeeper, I've scanned for where pressure, space, and options. Those are the 3 major things I'm looking for. And then how can I deliver a pass that gives my teammate an advantage? The way you can work on that is start playing in your training sessions and start thinking of yourself more as an outfield player. How can I solve this by looking to see where the opponent is? How can I use move as touch or mat to solve pressure? How can I put myself in a scenario where I'm getting under so much pressure, whether it's a rondo, small sided, it doesn't matter. Be brave to try to solve pressure and find the options that you have available to you. The other thing that you can do is start working on your non-dominant foot, because the more comfortable that you feel with the ball on both feet, the more freedom that you have in a game to execute any type of pass. So if the pressure is coming from one side and I'm touching into space to solve it, but it's on my non-dominant foot, do you have the range to be able to solve that? Do you have the range and the comfortability to solve that initial pressure and then deliver a pass wherever need be, whether it's short or 40 yards away? If you don't, that's going to limit your options on the field. And guarantee that when the ball, let's say you're right-footed, guarantee when the ball's on your right-hand side and you're getting pressed from your right-hand side, that you're probably more likely to kick it long because you want the ball on your right foot, rather than potentially scan early, see their space on your left-hand side, take a touch onto your left foot, and then have the escape route of, if there's no immediate options available to you, that you can hit a 40-yard pass with your non-dominant foot. So that's something that you guys can do in your off season. It is solely by yourself and just working on your instep strikes, your driven balls. And it doesn't even have to be an hour or 2 hours a day. It can be 10 minutes, 2-3 times a week. And over time, you're going to develop more comfortability on both feet to be able to execute any type of pass. So real quick recap, the 5 jobs of the goalkeeper: defend the goal area, defend the space behind the back line, communicate to limit your opponent's opportunities, and support the attack. Now, you guys, this is stuff that we made up here at TKI. It's goalkeeping simplified. We want to help everybody understand the position a little bit easier, because it is this elusive thing of, hey, as a goalkeeper, your job is to not let the opponent score. Great. How can I break that down into bite-sized, digestible pieces so I can work on my elements of my game? So there's 2 parts of it. Is 1, knowing the principles of play, knowing what the game is asking of you, and 2, knowing yourself really well so that you can interpret the game in alignment with who you are and who you want to be and what your team is asking from you. And if you need more support, because goalkeeping is not that simple for you in your environment and you need a little bit more support, please feel free to reach out to us. We want to help you. But we also have a 6-month remote course called the TKI University, which is a class that meets 3 times a month, 1 about technical, tactical, 1 about the mental side of the game with Dr. Christiana Ogunsami, and 1 lab where you guys get opportunities to go over your film and see how you can implement choices, whether that was something you want to do again or something you want to improve on. It is the best way to take your game to the next level so you can be confident in being able to solve any problem that comes your way. It's one of my favorite things that we do every year, because it's so cool watching goalkeepers improve, and I've never even met them in real life. So it's really fun. Coach Cam is going to be running a course on the West Coast. Coach Tori is going to be running our East Coast class, and Dr. Christiana Ogunsami is going to be doing both of those classes. So credit to her, doing an 11 p.m. session on Sunday nights. And I'm very excited for that class to start in 2026. It's January through June. If you guys need any support, please reach out. Loyden at thekeeperinstitute.com. You can reach out anytime. I'm happy to support anybody in any way, because I was a young player once. I knew how difficult this position was, and it has only continued to get harder with the amount of scrutiny that goalkeepers are constantly under at younger and younger ages. So we just want to be an outlet for you guys to give you what you might need or what you might not be getting in your home environment in your goalkeeper setting. So if you have any questions, please reach out. If not, we will catch you later. Thanks so much for listening, and hopefully let me know how I did by myself, because this was hard. I miss Tori. Hopefully she's back soon. See you guys.